What's going on, guys? Fuller here from Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube, and we've been getting a ton of questions recently about what fits the new 2019 Silverado. So shout out to my guy Tim down at Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac. Let us borrow this 2019 High Country so we can make this video for you and kind of explain why so many people are having problems fitting things on the new Silverado and Sierra. And it's not the typical things where like the plastic valance is running into your tire, or the inner felt liner is causing a problem and you can't just zip tie it up there, or the back mud flap is creating interference with your wheel and tire package, or you're rubbing on the inside. It's none of those typical things that we see. It's actually something completely new, and that is the brake calipers. So GM went with a new 4-piston design on the front brake calipers on here that just makes it very difficult to fit wheels. So basically, the massive size and this extra little bump out that they put on here is the thing that creates the biggest headache for owners of the new 2019 Silverado. So we're kind of going to dive into a few things that play into that and how you can actually make wheels fit this. So this is a 20x10 -25, the Archon Lincoln, and when I go to put it on here, you'll see me struggle for a while. You'll hear that loud clunk when I get it on there, and that's because the back of this spoke is hitting the caliper by a lot, not just by a little bit. If I take it off to where it would clear, I can fit my whole hand actually between the pad of the wheel and the hub of the truck. So there's a lot of space back there in order for this to clear to spin around it, because otherwise you could put this on, and if you bolt it on, you simply won't be able to bolt on the side where the spokes are touching the brake calipers, and you can't drive it down the road like that. It just doesn't work. So there are a couple things you can do to make wheels like this fit, and we'll cover that a little bit later. But what I want to show you is actually the back side of this wheel. So if you're looking at the rear, you'll see that the distance between where the spoke meets this back pad is only about 3/4 of an inch, maybe up to an inch at most. And it's beveled in, so it's hard to tell. There's not a straight edge there to really measure it accurately. But basically this spoke design, even though this is a hybrid wheel and these spokes actually dive towards the lip of the wheel, creating all this space in here to fit brake calipers by design, it still doesn't clear over these 2019 Silverados just with the massive brakes that they have on the front. Out back, you don't run into any issues, it's just the front clearance. So that's kind of where that comes from. So my next example is a significantly different size than this. And this is a method wheel, and this is actually a 17 by 8.5 plus 0. So basically a positive / negative offset. People argue whether it's positive or negative, but 0 offset. So significantly more pushed in, and it's only 8.5 wide. So naturally your brain would think that wheel is wider. It has a hybrid, so the spokes are facing outward. So there's a good chance that that wheel should fit, but this one shouldn't because it's a very flat profile. But then when you actually put it on here, Cody, help, this is heavy. So once you actually get this wheel on here, you can see that this fits with tons of space, and I actually have probably a good 3/4 of an inch between the spoke and the brake caliper itself. So why does this one fit when the wider, more concave wheels don't, when this is just a flat spoke wheel? And again, that has to do with the back side of this wheel, so I'll take it off and show that to you. So now on the back side of this wheel, although it's significantly narrower and it doesn't have nearly as much offset as the other wheel, you'll see that the distance between the spoke and the mounting pad of the wheel is probably 2.5, if not 3 inches. Again, it's hard to measure just because this is rounded, so you can't really get a straight edge in there to do it. And it's not super important to get accurate measurements, but you can see the difference between having like, a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch versus having up to 3 inches of space here between the spoke and the pad itself. So again, that's all really in the design of how this wheel is manufactured. So how do you fix it then if you already bought wheels and now they don't fit on your truck? To combat that, the easiest way to fix it is by getting a spacer. And now I don't want to try to sell you spacers, but if you're in the situation where you bought wheels and now they don't fit, you can correct it by getting a spacer. So this one that I have here is a 3/8 spacer. This is a hub-centric spacer. We do have these on the website if you want to pick them up. But basically, once you have that on there, you're not gonna be able to push that wheel further away from the brake caliper, and it should bolt on just fine. So we'll grab the same one that we just had that didn't fit, the Archon Lincoln, and then get this back on here. And now you can see, you know, if you were to bolt this on here tight and flush, it spins around that caliper just fine. You don't run into any clearance issues. And again, that's with a 3A spacer. So a 3A spacer should take care of almost all of the wheel problems. I know there's a handful of manufacturers out there that are basically sending their wheels back so that they can be remachined, or they're having it done here in the States so that they have extra spacing. They're literally making basically a cutout on the spokes just enough to clear the caliper without ruining the structural integrity of the wheel. And like I mentioned before, and I'll say it again, it has a lot to do with the design and not nearly as much to do with size. So if you want to know what fits your truck, you can come up to customoffsets.com/gallery. There's a handful of 19s in there. That should give you a good idea. If people are running spacers, they'll say that right in the description, so you can figure out exactly what does fit. And again, if you do need spacers, we also have those on the website as well. These are Bora hub-centric spacers. So you can come up to the website and check those out too, all at customoffsets.com. If you guys have questions on what fits your vehicle, or trying to get wheels to fit on your 2019, you can also drop those comments in the comment section below, or just shoot us a message. Peace.